I love your movie. You know, it reminded me of a short story. Like something you would read from other authors. What attracted you to the story?
Um, the script was sent to me by our producer Joe Piro. He had been working with our screenwriters Hannah Boss and Paul Thureen on the script for a year or so, and um, what I was really struck by, when I first read the script was um, uh, the heart that the story has. This story about friendship and connection, across generations. There was something about that I just thought was so um, tender and beautiful. Without being overly sentimental or cartoony. Um, and so I really wanted to do it. I felt like this was such a beautiful challenge to do something that was uh, really honest and authentic, and didn't shy away from emotion. I think that there's a lot of filmmaking that happens now that feels kind of cynical, and I really wanted to challenge myself to be emotional, and wear my heart on my sleeve, and really have something that felt organic and beautiful.
It did have a real life flavor to it. Especially, I liked the ending. Now, my wife didn't. Uh,
Mm.
but I can't think. I couldn't think of any way to end that movie and have it be real any other way.
Mhm.
You know.
Yeah,
Um,
I I think the ending for us was very much a feeling. It wasn't necessarily a plot point. It's not like Dell drives away, and Kathy and Cody say goodbye. For us, the ending was about this feeling of you know a summer that changes, that changes people's lives.
yeah.
Um and that the story in some ways continues for these characters. It's just that as an audience we don't get to see that, and I think that that's okay.
And again, when I was talking to my wife, we watched it together. You see sequels for superhero movies and Raiders of the Lost Ark and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
See all these big movie sequels, and this is the kind of movie that I love these characters. I want a sequel. I want to see what happens to them. And you don't,
Yeah.
and they walk off into the sunset, and you wonder how their lives are after that. That's what I love about movies like Driveways.
Yeah.
So the casting, Brian Dennehy, um, I've always loved his work. He reminds me of John Wayne, only deeper. There's something much deeper about him as a person than John Wayne was kind of surface with everything.
Hmm.
How was he to work with?
Brian was amazing. I am a relatively young director, early in my career, and to work with a legend was very intimidating for me at first. I was a little scared, but he really loves the process and is such a generous collaborator, that I felt really comfortable working with him. He really could have just phoned in a performance and I would have been thankful, but he really wanted to try his best, take after take, scene after scene. That level of motivation, I was just so surprised by and so grateful for. There's a scene in the film where Dell, Brian's character, tells Cody that he's moving to Seattle at the end of the summer. And I remember we shot Brian's close up first, and then we shot Lucas's close up. And then after, Brian told me, hey, Lucas was so good. He was so inspiring. It gave me some ideas. I'd love to try some things. And the fact that, Brian wanted to stay on set instead of going back to an air conditioned room, he wanted to work harder, try new things. That was just so cool for me that he was still so motivated after such a long career of doing this. And so I think that really shows in the film. The quality of his performance is so profound, so lived in a way that I think really shows the depth of his talent and desire to be the best at what he's doing.
The scene you're describing was my favorite scene in the movie.
Oh,
It seemed to
cool.
be the most genuine scene in the movie. And I watched that and I'm going, that was such a great monologue. And the
Hmm.
way he told the story about, I wish I would have, because I'm
Hmm.
an older guy now. I'm in my 70s.
Hmm.
And there's so many times I sit down and talk to my grandchildren, I wish I would have. And that was a beautiful scene. I thought it was the best scene in the movie. And he
Well, thank
did, he
you.
dialed it in. The other guy, and I
Yeah.
don't remember his name, the actor who did the poem
Yes. Yeah.
at the bingo parlor, that was
Hmm.
brilliant. I mean, he was really good.
Yeah,
That was
that
my other favorite scene.
I also love that scene. That's Jerry Adler playing Roger in the film, and Jerry is um, uh, just so sensitive and lovely. When we had him on set, everybody loved talking to him, and we only had a few days with him, and so it was always such a treat when Jerry came back for a scene. That poem, that he recites, Thanatopsis, that's actually inspired by a real life moment that one of our writers, Paul Thureen, had experienced with an older relative. And so that authenticity that's in the writing and then also in the performance, just makes that scene very special.
Oh my God, it was so good. I was listening to this guy. I could listen to him all day. In fact, I quit listening to the words, and just his delivery was
Hmm.
phenomenal. Great performance. So
Yeah.
back to Brian Dennehy. So
Yeah.
he didn't look well. I mean, he looked well, but he didn't look well. There was a
Hmm.
scene in the supermarket where he was kind of hunched over. Was
Hmm.
was he struggling with his health at that point?
I think when we filmed, Brian was 79 and he had had some knee surgery. And so mobility was, uh, not difficult for him, but sometimes uncomfortable. And so we were just as mindful of that as possible throughout the shoot. Again, Brian was so motivated and he really wanted to do this film well. He wouldn't complain about doing additional takes. Like he knew what he signed up for and he really enjoyed it. Um, you know, uh, we were very careful about not having him go upstairs and things like that. But he was very he was very healthy otherwise. I think it was just a lot of kind of uh, his knee, I think, really bothered him from years of playing football and just being an active guy.
He's obviously an athlete. I mean, he's always been very active in his acting. The I was really surprised in the roller skating rink scene that he didn't get on skates and go, and that might be one of the reasons there was that. But it
Right.
was a really lovely movie. Just one of those little movies that work. Did have you had contact with his family? I know there's a push now. You're pushing for best supporting actor for him, and I think I haven't seen any performance in 2020 that was better, really, from a supporting point of view. I
Hmm.
would give it to him.
I would love that. Yeah, I'm so glad that critics and movie fans are discovering the film and acknowledging his performance. I had been in touch with his wife after his passing, and I think our hope is that this film can serve as a tribute to him, not just as an actor, but as a human being, and that for me is part of the reason that I want to go through this awards process is it's not necessarily the end goal of a trophy in hand. It's really that people get to see his work and remember him and honor him.
Brian Dennehy is always one of those guys, like, he's my next door neighbor. You know,
Mhm.
he's I mean, in a lot of movies he was a heavy guy and he was larger than life in a lot of movies. But as a human being, he's always reminded me of somebody that if he was my next door neighbor, I'd sit and have a beer with him in the summer. Or,
Mhm.
if I was working on a project and struggling with it, he'd come over and say, "Hey, I know how to do this. Let me help you." He always has struck me as that kind of a person. He's always had that
Yeah.
persona. The rest of your cast, though, they were excellent as well. And it's a great story. I love the story. Cleaning up after a hoarder. Do I want to stay?
Mhm.
And then she winds up wanting to stay.
Yeah.
And I was going, yeah. Why wouldn't you?
I
Why wouldn't
yeah, I thought the story it really has such a journey for each character,
you?
for
Yeah.
Kathy and Cody, for Dell, and our cast really brought it to life. Brian, of course, and then also our young actor Lucas J. This was his first movie, and that was a really special experience for him. Hong Chow, who plays Kathy, she just really captures that. Very strong but vulnerable mother. I was just so lucky to work with them because they were so generous with each other, and they really found the spirit of the film, in their performances that I just think allows us as an audience to really connect with them and also really understand this movie, from the point of view of a young boy, this mother, and then an older man. I think there's kind of something for everybody in this film.
Another thing, I'm going to touch on racism. Um, she's confronted by the neighbor, "Where are you from?"
Mhm.
Assuming she's from Hong Kong or something. I don't remember what city she said, but I'm from the city, and you address the issue, but you didn't beat me up with it, and it was funny. It's like, how
Mhm.
stupid can you be? Of course I can.
Mhm.
I'm from here. I really like that. That made me smile. And
Yeah.
thank you for not beating me up with it, because there's so much of this anymore that we beat each other up over what race we are. I don't care what
Mhm.
race somebody is. I just love people. And I think people just love each other. I think most people do. But I love that scene too. There were several scenes in this movie. I'm just going, God, that was so good.
Mhm.
That's one of them.
Yeah, I think with race, the script wasn't written with any specific race for Kathy and Cody, and I think it sounds maybe a little reductive, but because I'm Asian American, I just saw Kathy and Cody as Asian American, and I had pitched that to our producers, to Joe Piro and James Shamus, unsure how they would react to it because Asian American films aren't necessarily seen as accessible. They might feel too niche. But I think it's a real testament to Joe and James that they thought it was a great idea and really let me put my stamp on the film. For me, it's very important that they're Asian American, but I also didn't want I didn't want to necessarily have that be the only identifying, characteristic of these characters, and I really felt that, what connects Dell to Cody, isn't necessarily, have anything to do with race in this, film. It's really about this connection of, lonely people, old souls who, just have a spiritual connection to each other.
But to me, what made the movie work a lot, what made it work is that they are a
Mhm.
it's this veteran and an Asian mom and kid show up, and that helped. To me, it helped the movie work better uh,
Mhm.
without being about it. It's just about how, to me, how we can love each other no matter who you just love people for who they are, not what
Mhm.
they look like or anything like that. But to me, it just helped the movie work. I'm not sure it works as well with a Caucasian
Mhm.
mother and son. You know,
Sure, yeah. And
I mean, to me, it just doesn't work as well.
yeah.
Your instincts were good there. I thought. You know,
Well,
I think your instincts were really good for the whole movie. You never overdid as a director. Now, this is one of your first projects, but as a director, you didn't overdo anything. You told a real simple story in a real simple way, and it's beautiful. You know.
yeah, I really felt it was important to have a gentle hand, with the story, and I think that quality allows an audience to kind of open themselves up to the film. You kind of let the film in, and that to me was, I think that's actually a very real challenge. I think to have that kind of quiet confidence. I of course, watch the film and think, oh, there are things that I could have done better,
Well,
but
you're never
I'm
you're never done. When you're editing,
right.
when you're writing, when you're filming. I've done some filming stuff. I've done commercials and things like
Mhm,
that, and other kinds of video production. You're never done.
mhm.
And there you will see something. Oh, I wish I would have. But something you did really well. Who inspired you? What brought you into to movie directing? And you're a really good director. I think you have a bright future.
Well, thank you. I really love who I would call humanist filmmakers. I'm a fan of Yasujiro Ozu. I really love John Cassavetes' films. And then I'm very much inspired by filmmakers making films now. Eliza Hittman is a friend of mine, and a mentor. I really love her work. Never Rarely, Sometimes Always, I think, is one of the best films of the year. I draw a lot of inspiration from people who respect their characters, and want to tell a story that doesn't feel exploitative but um, you know uh, feels additive to our culture. And so I think ultimately, my main inspiration is really just seeing like friends and family, hearing stories from people. I think this makes me want to continue to make films, for the rest of my life.
I think you should, because your storytelling style is very simple, and that's not a bad thing. I mean, it's just a great way to tell a story. The story is what it is. You don't have to embellish. You don't have to add. You don't have to beat people up with it. It's just a beautiful story, and I really like that. And I'm probably way past the my time, but I just want to tell you, I hope I see more of your work. I think you're an excellent director, and you have a very bright future. What's next? Are you working on anything now?
I am doing some TV directing, helping tell other people's stories. I really love, being able to collaborate with other people. At the same time, I'm also developing my own material, and I'm writing myself, various different stories, all different genres. I really, love the filmography of filmmakers like Ang Lee and Todd Haynes, who really love to explore and try different things. So that's really what I hope for in my career. But yes, I hope to make another film soon. as soon as it's relatively safe to do so.
Someday, yeah.
Yes.
I'm hearing like end of the universe is about the time they'll get done with all this. But well, anyway, I wish you luck and thank you for your time. I really enjoyed the discussion, and I really hope that the push to get Dennehy his Oscar, because he had a Golden Globe, but he has done some great work, and I think that he deserves this one. And
Thank you so much.
again, I thank you so much for